Morning. Today we are continuing on with our new unit. Today's objective is CO65. I can measure, draw, and classify angles using a protractor. Again, I have not passed the protractors out yet. I should not see any protractors out because I want us listening and learning. Let's look at the picture of our protractor. You will notice there are numbers on the outside and there are numbers on the inside. On the outside, the 0 starts on the left side. And on the right side, that 0 is on the middle. I don't know why it's not drawing for me.
The boy's boarding.
There. It's taking a while. So, our 0 is on the inside on the right. The 0 is on the outside on the left. Because we have angles that go both directions. So you need to pay attention to which way our arrow line is going for our angle. So this angle is right here. I put my circle right at that vertex. So I put the circle of my protractor on the vertex of my angle. Notice how the angle line I drew right over that. So it's, well, on some protractors they actually have a line, and you're going to want to put the protractor line right over the angle line. The one on our paper doesn't have it. But look at which direction that line is pointing. That's the 0 we want to go to. So if it's pointing to the right, you're going to start at the 0 on the inside. Every year I have many kids that go to the outside numbers. We don't start at 180 degrees. We start at 0 degrees. That base line is at 0 degrees. This line of our angle points to what our angle measurement is. So if I start on the inside here, I have to continue on the inside to see what degree measurement that is. So I would say this looks like 72 degrees. Right? If our angle points the other way, like this one, and we have one like this, here is my vertex, goes right in that circle. I see it's that bottom part of my angle is pointing to the left, so I know I need my zeros on the left side. I'm going to follow my numbers up on the left, all the way here. I'm going to extend that line up to see what number it hits. I have to be at the outside. It's not going to be the same measurement as this one. This is an acute angle. This is an obtuse angle. That's your way of checking. I get 109 degrees here. If I had put it as 71 degrees, I would know that's wrong because it's obtuse. It's too big. So that could not be right. I used the wrong part of the protractor. Every year I get kids that go too fast. And they say, oh, I know how to use a protractor. I've used it before. I can go quick. And they measure on the wrong side and don't stop and think, does it logically make sense? An obtuse angle must be bigger than 90 degrees. So if you're putting 71 degrees for it, you're measuring incorrectly. Jude.
How are you supposed to know exactly which?
That is a great question. I give a little leeway. So if I get 109 degrees when I measure, I do plus or minus 3 degrees. So if you measured it as 108 degrees, you would get credit for it. If you measured it as 110 degrees, I would give you credit. Because there is a little wiggle room. If you put 100 degrees, that's too big of a difference. You're not being careful with your lining up your protractor. Okay? So we don't want to go more than 3 degrees. When I say plus or minus, That's -3 plus 3. So I would take from 106 degrees up to 112 degrees. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I know it's going to be a little wiggle room. You're not going to be exact while we do this math. I totally get it. So I will give that wiggle room for it. So I used some key terms as I was explaining the protractor. We're going to write those definitions down. Oops. So the vertex of an angle is the point. The point where the two sides of an angle meet. So when we have that angle, the vertex is that point where the two sides are meeting up. An acute angle is an angle with a measure of what? With a measure less than 90 degrees. Can it be 90 degrees?
No.
No, because 90 degrees is a different angle. It has to be less than, not less than or equal. So an example, acute angles are acute and little. Lucas.
Think about it. If you were to write less than 90 with a less than symbol, the less than symbol is an acute angle.
You are correct. A less than symbol is an acute angle. So, a right angle is an angle with a measure what? With a measure that equals to 90 degrees. So a right angle is exactly 90 degrees no matter what. So you will see that looking like this. Sometimes they will write the 90 degrees in, sometimes they give you what to know it's 90 degrees. A box. So you might see that little box in the corner and you know that for certain is 90 degrees. It is a right angle. What, Donovan? So let's not waste time. Okay. I appreciate your thought, but we don't want to waste time because we're running out of time. Obtuse angle is an angle with a measure of what?
Greater than 90.
Greater than 90 degrees. So we don't have an inequality symbol that is obtuse. So an example would be an angle that looks bigger than that 90-degree angle. So again, when you are measuring, the first thing you want to do is look at your angle and say, is it acute? Is it obtuse? Am I measuring it correctly? Does it make sense if I have an angle that looks like this and I get 45 degrees? Does it make sense? Okay, Lucas.
Wouldn't a segment be 100 would be an obtuse angle?
I'm sorry, what?
A segment because that's 100 degrees.
No,
It's not an angle because it doesn't have a vertex.
it is an angle. It is not listed as one of our vocab words, but it would look like this. That is called a straight angle. Anybody know exactly what measurement a straight angle is, Gabe? 180 degrees or a straight angle.
80 degrees.
He said one. Guys, stop wasting time. This is going to be our homework no matter what. Any questions on the angles? Any questions on protractor? Christian, can you please take my protractor bucket and pass out protractors to our friends? Nope, everybody else is quiet because I am still recording. Let's look at our work page. My giant protractor looks a little different than yours. I will wait for it to be quiet. Protractor is put under your binder for right now. I'm waiting. Is there anybody who did not get a protractor? Okay, thank you, Christian. I'm still waiting. I'm not going to lose my voice talking over other people's voices. When you are lining up your protractor, yours has an actual circle, mine's just a little divot there. You line it up straight on that line. So for mine, I'm lining it up straight on the line there. It's hard because I can't touch the board with my protractor. You are looking to see which way your angle is pointing. Remember, you go to the 0. You don't go to the 180 degrees. On some of these plastic protractors, the 0 isn't actually listed. So how do we know which, do we go inside, outside? How do you know? If there isn't an actual 0 written on there. Will, what do you think? So there will be numbers from 180 to 0 going around this way. So if you're pointing this direction and you see there's a 170 and a 10, which one are you going to go to? If we're pointing this way, you don't go to the 180. You don't go to the big numbers, you go to the small numbers. So if the 0 isn't actually listed, but you see a 10 coming up, go to the small side, right? You don't say, oh, but there wasn't a 0 there, so I'm just gonna go on the inside. No, you go to the small numbers and you move up to big numbers. Does that make sense? Okay. If the angle doesn't reach the degree measures, just visually extend it. You can do your dotted lines up. You are going to take your time and make sure you are measuring correctly. Notice that there are things you need to do for this first angle. What is the measure of the angle? Sean, what's its classification? What are we asking for when we say to classify something?
To put it right,
To give the name of the angle. We classified triangles, we gave the name of the triangles. Thank you so much to my friends who are listening and not rushing. So classification means giving me the angle name. Is it an acute angle, a right angle, an obtuse angle? Remember I said plus or minus 3 degrees. Make sure you are lining it up correctly. If we lift our protractor and we don't line it up straight and we're curved a little bit, we're going to get a very different degree than if we have it straight and lined up against that bottom line. You may need to take it out of your binder so the ring doesn't get in your way. You can take the paper out of your binder, use your protractor, figure it all out, then put it back into your binder. because the protractor is going to hit some of those rings. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And on the bottom, you need to draw a 30-degree angle and a 110-degree angle.
Wait, would I have to put the exact measure on here?
Yep. So how do we draw an angle?
Oh.
Damien.
So what you do is you put the protractor down like this, and then you kind of look at the angles and you draw it. It's kind of hard to explain, but.
So there's a couple more steps in there. I would start with my vertex. You draw a point. Use your protractor as your straight line. Then you're going to use that protractor, line it up, see where that 30 degrees is. Put a point. Use your protractor. Connect your points. Does that make sense? So put your dot, put your bottom line, line it up, put a dot where the degree is that you want, connect it, make sure that you're showing me, you have to label them, which one's 30 degrees, which one's 110. You can't leave it like this. You have to label, make sure your 30 degrees is your acute angle. 110 degrees is an obtuse angle. And I think that's it, right? Yep. Any questions? Okay. If you're watching from home, I hope you're well. Hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.